The dreams that you wind up chasing are the dreams that chase you back. Anything that's really meant for you doesn't require for you to self-abandon.
Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm Moira Casava, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. Welcome back to the show, you guys. I am so thrilled for this conversation. You have no idea how long I've been waiting to have this conversation. So we've got Cathy Heller on the show today. Cathy, thank you so much for being here all the way from Los Angeles, California.
I mean, you are such a delight. I feel like we went to camp together. I feel like we've been friends since 7th grade. Although you're so beautiful, I'm like, would we have been friends in 7th grade? Because you're in a really cool crew.
Girlfriend, you should have seen me in 7th grade.
You should have seen me in 7th grade. It was a look. But you're really like somebody that I feel like I've known you my whole life.
I feel the same way. I mean, we had like a miscommunication on timing or links or whatever a few weeks back, months back, whatever it was, to do this episode. And so we didn't connect, and I've just been dying to connect. And so obviously my audience knows me. They may know you, but listen to this, you guys. She hosts one of the top spiritual podcasts, Abundant Ever After, downloaded, this is bananas, 45 million times. Now my audience is like, okay, now I get why you want to be best friends. She's the author of the USA Today best-selling book, Abundant Ever After, Tools for Creating a Life of Prosperity and Ease. I love that word.
Me too.
And this is another thing that I love. She's a practitioner of the law of reception. You don't hear that often. You hear law of attraction, all these other things. You don't hear the law of reception, which I love. And you have a deep understanding of the universal principles of manifestation. You are so my people. So thank you for all of that. So I have so many questions, Cathy. So many questions.
I love being introduced by you, by the way. It's like, I don't know, you make me feel so amazing about everything I'm up to and thinking about. Thank you.
You're welcome. You are amazing. I mean, you are literally my people that I'm like, okay, let's go for a girls' weekend. We could just talk for days. I want to know how you got here. Like, give us a little glimpse of kind of the work that you're doing right now in the world. Like, what does your day in and day out look like? And how in the heck did you get here? Because I know there was a journey to arrive at this spot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And we're still on it, right? We're still on it.
Yes.
So currently my day to day, I have 3 daughters. Right before I came on, my daughter has crazy hair day. So she had this idea to make her hair into cupcake holders, like put pigtails into cupcake holders. Anyway, it's adorable. But
precious.
So currently I'm a mom to 3 little girls. I love being with them. I love Charleston. We've gone out there with them. We've gone to Blackberry Mountain with them. We love to be with them, travel with them, spend time with them. I coach. So off of these really beautiful themes that you talked about, I coach thousands and thousands of people a year through various containers. And I do a podcast. And I started that podcast in my closet when I was 37 with no microphone, just talking straight into my laptop. And 8 years later, we're pushing 51 million downloads. And it's interesting. The Talmud says that words from the heart enter the heart. And when I started that show, I didn't have a marketing plan. I didn't have a strategy. Except the strategy is always the strategy that I teach, which really is wholeness. And we'll talk about that in a second. But how I got to this place where I'm writing books and coaching, I heard my friend said to me that the dreams that you wind up chasing are the dreams that chase you back.
Oh.
And so I do feel like, if you would have asked me at 25 if this is what I would be doing, first of all, podcasts, I don't even think existed then, right?
Right.
I'm 45, I'm not sure. So it's just really wild how we get called in, right? When we're really listening. And really the ease is just choosing our alignment. And so what's interesting is that we have all these well-meaning adults around us since the time we're born. And they want so much to protect us that they tell us what they think is the truth. And often it sounds a lot like hard work. And so we grow up believing that in order for us to, quote unquote, manifest anything, for us to have any version of success or fulfillment, we get gold stars the harder we work.
Yep.
And the truth of the matter with the capital T is that anything that's really meant for you doesn't require for you to self-abandon. And what's really meant for you comes when you choose your own wholeness, your own courage, your own alignment. And the truth is that that's actually never something we don't know. It's that often we don't have the courage to choose it. And so, my husband went to law school. He didn't really want to be a lawyer, but that seemed practical.
Right.
And then here we are today, fast forward, just on a practical level, I make probably 12 times what he makes.
Gosh.
Not because someone told me, oh, one day what you'll do is you'll start a podcast. No. You're following breadcrumbs,
yes.
Right? But here's the thing. I wasn't doing it to make the money. I was doing it to choose to be congruent with who I knew I was called to be.
Yes.
So the thing about it is when you're chasing wholeness rather than external validation, you will manifest abundance, because what you're really always seeking is not piles of money and piles of things. You're seeking the feeling of being true to your soul.
Yes.
Because when we really peel back the layers, and I talk about this in this new book, Abundant Ever After, everybody wants abundance. And I say to them, what is abundance? And they'll say $10 million, a Range Rover, 2 houses, a beach home, a trip to Paris. And I'm like, great. I want you to have whatever the experience is that you want. I don't believe God's asking us to choose.
Right.
I don't think it's actually mutually exclusive. I think redwood trees are so tall and require a certain amount of resources to just be themselves, thriving. Everything in nature was born to thrive. Eagles were born to soar. We are made to be expansive and to have the unlimited amount of resources that allow us to be in our state of thriving. A dolphin is not asking for 10 cups of water. It's looking for an entire ocean. That is not a problem. But the problem is when you don't recognize that true abundance is the lightness of your own being. It's enjoying your own company. It's inner peace. It's a slow morning. It's enjoying your coffee. It's actually savoring the 19 shades of green on the tree outside your window. And when you finally find the well of abundance that lies within you, your abundance of creativity, your abundance of passion, your abundance of enthusiasm, your abundance of resourcefulness, your abundance of ideas, the connection that you feel to the divine at all times, the wisdom that God is always speaking into your heart, there's always an answer in there. So when you find that level of abundance, you find what you've always been seeking outside of you. And when a person finds what they've been looking for inside of them, they become the radio. They become so high vibe because wholeness is such a potent resonance that they will then manifest every amazing opportunity, all the right, best humans, and all the coolest experiences.
Yeah.
And the money won't miss you, because we don't get what we want. We get what we are.
Yeah.
We get back a mirror of whatever it is. And that we can talk more, but that really is, that's me on our way to describe to you what is the law of perception. That's the beginning of the story.
It's so good. It's so good. And I'm sure that every single person listening is obviously thinking of themselves, because that's what we do, right? We're like thinking about, how does this apply to me? And I have so many questions because I live in this work, right? But I still feel like I struggle with like the kind of like high vibe and then out, high vibe and then out, high vibe and then out. Like, because my biggest story is the harder I work, the more money I'll make, right? And that's the one story I've been trying to rewrite for the last however many years. And so I have 2 questions. where does kind of action come in, right? Because I do believe that like some of the law of attraction, we're missing the action, right? I would guess that you would agree, like we still have to take some action. Like we can't just sit in the field of flowers and hope the business comes. So like there has to be, so there's a fine line, right? Like between the action that we're taking that aligns us and allows us to step more into flow versus the action that feels like work, that feels like hustle, that feels like grind, that burns us out. So how do we differentiate between that? Is it just the feeling that we feel in the action?
Well, that's close to what I would say. I'm going to answer it in two ways. First of all, when a person is in flow state, okay, we now know a lot about flow state. We've looked at it under a microscope in many different ways. So Michael Jordan on the court is in flow. Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel was in flow. Mm-hmm. Tom Petty on a guitar is in flow state. When a person's in flow state, not only are they not sitting still, but their mind moves to a place where it goes into gamma. Gamma waves are so fast that they believe that they're faster than the speed of light because they can't measure them. That's how fast we move. Wow. But when a person's in flow and we're moving that fast and we're taking that kind of flow state action, it's not coming from the mind. It's coming from a part of us that's a higher sense of consciousness. When Jason Mraz is in the studio writing a song, he's in flow state. Mm-hmm. That means he is moving quickly, but he's moving not from overanalyzing and overthinking. Mm-hmm. He is powered by his innate inspiration and creativity, right?
Yeah.
So if Steve Jobs was in a meeting and he's ideating and he's getting there, right? That meeting feels like molecules.
Yeah.
When molecules move in boiling water, they move really fast.
Right.
But they're not efforting. Mm-hmm. It's coming from energy, right? You know those days when you're just podcasting or whatever it is you're doing and it's not work.
Yeah.
And you're not sitting still, you're having a blast, and you're moving real fast.
Right.
You're moving so fast that your analytical mind can't slow you down because it's not coming from a state of trying to control it, trying to prove. It's just coming from joy. Yeah. It's coming from pure creativity. You know, you can't be in Martha Beck just wrote a book about this. You can't be in creativity flow and have anxiety at the same time because it's operating from a different part of the mind. Okay. The mind has no answers. There are no answers in the mind. All the answers are actually coming from somewhere beyond us that we kind of tap into. That's why people say, I don't know, just got this hit. Yeah. Yeah. Because Einstein said there's like this infinite field that we're in and we kind of pick up on it when we get beyond the analytical mind that's trying to figure it out. Yes. And we move into something called intuition, which actually they think comes from the gut and the heart, not really the head. Right. Okay. So that's a little bit of the answer. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Something else to understand is it's not cause that creates effect. Intention creates effect. Two people can do the exact same thing, say the same words to you, has a totally different effect because of their intention, right? One comes out as presence, one comes out as sarcasm, one comes out as apathy, but it's the same words, same action. It's intention. What I mean is most of the time when people are doing things, they're taking action, they are also very much in scarcity still. Right. If they don't get the client, if they don't get the date, if the guy doesn't like them, they feel a sense of lack. You're not going to create from lack. You're going to create from wholeness. So if you're starting a podcast and you're taking lots of action, but it's all inspired action, you're in flow, you're having fun, and you're letting go of the outcome because you're not doing it for the likes, you're not doing it for the downloads, you're doing it because like this is the calling this is the message you've been called to share. And that feels so satisfying in the creative process, you're going to manifest. But you're doing the podcast and it is like molasses because everything you do, you're overthinking it and saying, are they going to like it? Are they going to click like? Are they going to click subscribe? You're going to keep pushing it further and further away. If you go on a date and you're in the best shape of your life, but you're so needy of being approved of, and you go on that date, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are. It doesn't matter how many accomplishments you have. You will repel that person because the person can feel in your energy. You need their approval. But if you are the opposite, if you're just enjoying your life, regardless of what you weigh, regardless of what accomplishments you have, you are just your own vibe because you're in a state of wholeness in your own life. every single person you date is going to be interested because wholeness is such an attractor. Because wholeness is non-attachment. Because I'm not attached to things outside of me when I'm feeling whole. So it's the intention. When you're going for it, are you going for it because this money represents your sense of wholeness and validation? Or are you just loving what you're doing? And that's when everything's finding you. So I'm going to give you a story, tangible. Okay?
Yeah.
When I started the podcast, I had 3 kids. My youngest was 3 weeks old. My oldest was 4.5. And I go to this podcast conference, and I was like 6 months into the podcast. And
so this is about 10 years ago?
This was 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, 8 years ago. And I go down to Anaheim, which is like an hour away. And I'm staying in this hotel. The conference is in the lobby, and everyone has business cards, and everyone's like mingling. And I said to my friend Emma, what do you really think the point is here? Because I didn't bring business cards, so I kind of feel a little bit funny. Everyone's like passing around these cards and networking. And she's like, the main point is that the people from Apple Podcasts are here. And if Apple Podcasts were to feature you, I think people assume that'll give them a big leg up. So I said, all right, well, this is making me feel a little bit gross. Like, I don't like the fake in here. So I said, when does the actual conference begin? And she said, it starts in about an hour. I said, I'll meet you in an hour, save me a seat in the theater. Great. So I leave the networking event, walk across the street, go sit down, order an iced tea at a different hotel. Sitting there, all of a sudden I felt like it was a normal Sunday. All of a sudden I was just sitting having an iced tea, and just everything felt fine and right in the world. There was someone playing the piano in the lobby. It was a beautiful moment. This guy walks in, he sits down next to me, and he notices that we're wearing the same badge from the conference. So he says, oh, were you in there? And I said, oh, yeah, I was. He says, oh, you have a podcast? I said, yeah, blah, blah, blah. We're talking. And we talked for 45 minutes. And he tells me he's from Chicago. And I tell him my husband's from Chicago. We're talking about the Midwest and talking about the differences between the Midwest, California, podcasting, art, culture, whatever.
And your podcast is like just beginning at this point, right?
6 months in, right? 6 months in. So he stands up, he hands me his card, and he says, I would love to take you to see The Office and take you to lunch. I go, oh, what office? And he goes, oh, well, I'm the head of Apple Podcasts.
Oh, my gosh. I love stories like this.
I know. He's like, you should come. It gets even better. So first of all, that's already the end of the story, except even better, because when he hands me his card, he shows me the address. And I say to him, oh, my God, you're in Culver City? He's like, yeah. I go, my daughter goes to kindergarten right across the street. And I've always wondered what that building was, because it's a very sleek building and it has valet parking, but it doesn't have a sign on the building because it's like very mysterious.
Right.
It's always a whole car pulling up. He goes, yeah, that's us. We're very incognito. And I said, that's insane, because I've been there every single morning this year wondering.
Oh my gosh.
What that is. And he's like, when will you be there again? I said, tomorrow morning. He's like, great. After drop off, come upstairs to Apple. I'll put you on the list.
How
So the next day, I go through the looking glass, because I was there the days before.
Yeah.
Except I drop her off, and then I go right into Apple. He shows me around. They feature me on Apple. And then they featured me 8 times. And then they chose my show for the New Year, New You, the following year. For 5 years in a row, they chose my show as the most inspirational show for the new year. And the rest is history. But that story really articulates exactly what I am saying.
100%.
I left the networking event because I was certain that my future and everything I needed to feel like me wasn't in the room. It was in me having a good day today. And when you set it down, you walk right into a place that collapses time and space.
Yep.
Because, and now I want to tell you a little bit about the law of perception.
This story is everything, Cathy. Like, I love that you have a story to go with this that illustrates it so beautifully, because it's so true. So true.
I mean, I have a million stories like this, another story like that, because these stories really hit the point home. When I was 25, and this is a good segue because I'll tell you how I got here. But when I was 25 and I moved to Los Angeles, I spent ages 21 to 25 living in Jerusalem, which is a really interesting story, which is how I learned about the law of reception. And that was a surprise. That was total synchronicity. But I moved to LA at 25. I'm looking at this unit in an apartment building. There's 4 units in the building. It's a 4-plex. Super charming, but a little more than what I thought I could afford at the time. I was 25. I just got here. I was like on Craigslist trying to find a random job, right?
Yeah.
Making like a few $100 a week. This woman shows me the apartment and we're walking down the stairs and I'm thinking it's so cute. And I don't know, maybe my sister will move in with me. Maybe I could somehow afford it, blah, 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 blah. So this woman walks up the stairs and me and the landlord are standing there, talking about if I'm going to take the apartment. And this woman I've never met, who's about, I would say she was 65 years old. She goes, "Are you thinking of renting this apartment?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm considering it." She said, "You should rent it because for the last 4 years, every person who's rented it is a girl your age-ish, and she gets engaged within a year and she moves out." So she goes, "I'm certain that apartment has amazing mazel. Like there's amazing energy in there."
Yeah.
So I turned to the landlord. I'm like, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
Right?
Signed.
Meanwhile, I was thinking my sister would move in with me because she was 28, 3 years older, and I knew she wanted to get married. So I'm like, "You're going to move in with me. It's going to have the best energy." My sister moves in with me. She's going on every date. I'm like having the time of my life. I'm not dating. I'm enjoying life in LA. Sure enough, I get engaged that year. But you know who I got engaged to? My husband is the son of that woman who walked up to me on the sidewalk that day.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. She lived next door and she's a widow since 1987. And he used to go visit her every day, bring her flowers, bring her coffee, I could like cry thinking about it.
Yes.
So we got to know each other because he was always around. He would like fix this for me. He would come over. I tried to set him up with 3 of my friends. I tried to set him up with my sister who wanted to get married so badly. I didn't. Okay.
Detachment, right? Detachment. That's the key to this.
Well,
yes.
Also, I mean, here I am choosing. See, we think we're in control of everything, but there's a river of life that is moving us towards wholeness all the time. We didn't create ourselves. We didn't know when our parents would conceive us. We're not in control of how we met our best friend. You didn't know. My best friend, we've been friends for 25 years. Did I know the day I'd meet her and this? She's the perfect best friend for me. I have 3 daughters. She got married, had 3 daughters. Our daughters are best friends, as if I'm in control of it. No, it's perfect. We dreamed of that. It actually happened, right? So we're not in control. When we let go and we realize our only job is well-being. Our only real job is to listen to the intuition and enjoy your day.
Yes.
Get on a park bench and look out at the world and see it as it really is. This unbelievably beautiful, potent, vibrant thing that you get to live, right? You get to live here and play in the magic. So I just want to tell you, because I mentioned it. So I lived in Jerusalem for 3 years. Now that's super random for me because I grew up in South Florida. My parents are from New York. Obviously, I'm Jewish and I'm sure my great-great-great-grandparents at some point lived, would go all the way back, right? I have a friend who lives in Jerusalem. She's 8 generations Jews living in Jerusalem. But like my grandma's from the Ukraine. My grandfather was from Lithuania, but I'm sure. Okay. But like never in my life would I have thought that I would wind up there. Okay?
Right.
But I grew up, even though I'm Jewish and I had a bat mitzvah, my bat mitzvah was like, my theme was Disney. Like, I don't know. I didn't think about what I was
You weren't thinking
doing,
about your
right?
deep spiritual roots at that point.
No, I can quote Seinfeld and I like lots of bagels and that's about it. So after college, my parents went through a horrible divorce when I was in high school and it almost killed my mom. She literally became suicidal. My dad was having an affair. I saw her completely collapse. She became so depressed. My father and I had no relationship. He left. He abandoned the family. It was so sad. And I was going through all of that. And I was so desperate to understand, what are the secrets to the universe? Because this just seems so miserable.
Right.
And after college, I had this idea. My friend was like, why don't you come with me? I'm going to go to Israel. I'm going to go to Jerusalem for 3 weeks. You should come. I'm like, I should come. That's a fun, cool thing to do. I'm going to check the box that I went there. And then I'll go to Europe. It was just whatever. Then I'll move And then I figured that I'll move to LA or New York City. So I go for 3 weeks and I wind up staying for 3 years.
Wow.
And the reason I stayed for 3 years was because within like minutes of getting there, I could just feel the power in what was happening. It was such a vortex.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know I was going to stay until the last day, because the very last day of the trip, I met a rabbi. He was teaching a class and he wrote the word for the Sabbath on the board, which is the word Shabbat in Hebrew. And he says, does anyone know the first time this word is used in the Bible? And I'm like, no. And he goes, the first time this word is used is when Abraham is meditating. So the idea of the Sabbath is a meditation. It means to meditate, to be still. It doesn't mean rest, like you should go to sleep for the day.
Right.
It means the kind of stillness that is presence.
Yeah.
And really being in the presence of stillness. And he said, the next line says, and Abraham meditated and God speaks to him. So he said, when you get still, God will speak to you. And the vehicle, the mechanism to hear the voice of the divine, which is always trying to get your attention, is to get still.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is Judaism. This is like obviously it's the basis of Judaism and Christianity, right? It's the same,
right?
It's the beginning of the Bible. I was blown away. I was like, this is so beautiful. I need to know it all.
Yeah.
So I stay, go to a Shabbat dinner in the old city of Jerusalem, in King David's old city. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this adorable rabbi with red hair and freckles and his wife, who's from France, they invite me to dinner with their 7 gorgeous children. And I just can't stop crying because there was so much love and presence in the home. And he said to me, I have a school in the old city and we have an extra room and you could stay with me and I could teach you. And I'm thinking, what does he want from me? I don't have money. I don't have this. I'm not even religious. Like, why? Yeah. He's like, I don't know. There's something about you. I just trust my gut. Mm-hmm. And little did he know, like, I would write these books and have but he sort of knew, I guess, on some level, that I was someone he was meant to teach. So we start it's like Mr. Miyagi. It's like Karate Kid, okay?
I love this.
I start learning with him. And he's so happy to teach me. And it's just me and him sitting in this, he's every day we're learning. And then he goes and has his own school and he teaches, but he comes and he just sits with me. And one day he says to me, have you heard of the law of attraction? And I'm like, oh yeah, everyone's taught. This is early 2000s.
Right.
He's like, well, I want to tweak it a little bit for you. He goes, the way we would say this in a Hebrew lens would be the law of reception. He said, because Hebrew letters have like divine significance. It's really quite awesome. I could go into that whole separate. It's like a code. It's very interesting. Wow. No wonder Jesus spoke Hebrew. Like there's something about this language. It's very, very special, but that's like a whole hour. Anyway, he said the word Kabbalah literally means to receive. That's what the word likabel means. So the mandate for human beings is to be a receiver. He says, but let me explain what it means. When you study Kabbalah, you'll understand. He goes, if you had a radio and you turn it on, what happens? Music shows up in the room we're sitting in right now. But right now we hear nothing. But if I went and got a radio and turned it on, you and I would both hear a song. He goes, but what's really interesting is if you turn the radio dial rather, you can hear different songs. Mm-hmm. So he said, the radio dial is responsible for what song we hear, which means every one of those songs is in the room already, hidden in plain sight. And the radio tuner is selecting which song. And so are we. So all potentials exist in the quantum field. All realities exist. There's somebody down the street from you who's having a horrible day. Somebody down the street from you having the most amazing day, right? Depending on where we are attuned, our whole day will play that song. So if you select the radio station of love and purpose and passion and compassion and magic and synchronicity, your entire day will feel like love and magic and synchronicity. And you'll be telling your kids at night, you don't know who I met at the bus stop.
Yeah.
She brought me to tears. You don't know what happened at the park. You won't believe what happened. You won't believe, you won't believe, you won't believe. It's so magical, beautiful. It's like Bill Murray and Groundhog Day, living two different experiences. If you're tuned to lack, self-doubt, shame, scarcity, anger, your whole day you're going to say, ugh, the world is miserable.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, my grandmother, escaped Ukraine, horrible story, lost her family to pogroms, got here, lived in a tenement, was evicted from tenements. That's how little money that they had. And yet she had no money. She would draw a line up the back of her leg to make it look like she had pantyhose on. That's how little money they had. She'd pretend. She'd use an eyeliner pencil. And meanwhile, she went to this club in Harlem called Roseland. It was actually restricted to Jews, so she pretended she was Italian. She became the star dancer. Ella Fitzgerald was her friend. Wow. They had no money. They cried their eyes out through joy, living through the worst times. And my grandmother married her dance partner, who was my grandfather, who also pretended that he was Italian to get into the club. And it's just so interesting that my grandmother used to say, I'm a millionaire. I'm so rich because of what I have music. Right?
Wow.
I mean, it makes me cry. And that music that she felt she had inside of her, well, eventually those two kids with no money, they built quite a beautiful life. Wow. And, my grandfather actually took cardboard and started cutting the strips of cardboard to put in his dress collar. Mm-hmm. And he invented, when you go to like a men's dress shirt store, there's something in the collar.
Yeah.
That was him and his
Isn't it called a stay? Is it called a stay?
So that's like the more advanced, sophisticated thing he didn't create. He created the first version, which was just like the cardboard around the collar.
Wow. Because
he didn't have enough money to get his shirts clean. He had to keep a one shirt good for like days.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, right? But anyway, resourcefulness, passion, happiness.
Yes.
We now know, by the way, that grit, when you read the book Grit, Angela Duckworth did all this research. The thing that correlates with grittiness is optimism. Mm-hmm. Because in order to find a cure for cancer, you have to be in a high vibe state. You can't say, oh, forget it. You have to say, I know it's here. So my point is, the law of reception is about how we tune in to the station that we're choosing. And we don't know. Most people don't believe that the reality that they're in, they've selected it. They think it's happening to them.
100%.
It's a mirror of their own self-reflection.
For sure. So, gosh, this is so good. How do you tune in on a daily basis, right? I'm sure you have tools or processes or habits that are kind of ingrained, because being somebody that practices this, teaches this, lives in this, it's amazing that I still need so many things kind of to stay on track, right? To not fall into the grind, the hustle, the really just give into society, right? What's around me, the noise out there in the world of like, but you got to do this, but you got to do this, but don't forget about this. How many, the game, business even. And so what do you do to kind of stay connected and stay tuned into that proper frequency?
Well, first of all, what you're articulating is very real, because the mind, it's meant to keep us alive. Okay.
Yep.
So the mind is constantly in this state of assessing danger and urgency, which is why most people, you've done a bunch of podcasts. I've done about 1,000 of them. Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, Marianne Williamson, Matthew McConaughey. Everyone has found meditation. Every single person. Why? Because at some point you have to realize that your mind is feeding you lies.
Right.
And it's not meant to be trusted. It's meant to keep you safe. And it's probably only really useful right before a hurricane when you need to get out of a house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if your mind is built for danger and to protect you, it's going to say, oh my God, where's the money? Oh my God, what did you create? All of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because it's constantly wanting to prove to you that there is a problem that you need it to solve. The heart is always okay. If you ask your heart in the morning, what do I need to remember today? I promise there's going to be an answer, and it's going to say, You're enough. Slow down. Enjoy your day. Take a walk with God. The mind and the heart are very different radio stations.
Yes.
So my practice is to find my way to my heart and turn off my mind for a moment every morning, which changes my entire day. So, of course, I have a meditation practice, but I don't always remember, or I don't always meditate.
Yeah.
But meditation is meant to be your life.
Yeah.
It's meant to be all day. And I do that. So what that means is practicing mindfulness means not believing everything you think and moving yourself all day long back into what feels like ease, back into alignment. That I do all day long. I started becoming aware 20 years ago, and it's a practice. I go, oh my God, I just lost 3 hours thinking about this thing that my mom said to me. No, bring it back, right? Create some compassion around that. Find your intuition. Oh, that means set a boundary. Okay, now we're going to clean that up. We're going to move on, right? So usually when the mind is racing, there's a feeling underneath it that's trying to get your attention.
Right.
But what I say to people is, before you learn how to meditate and you get overwhelmed by that, I say, the same way that you select what you want to wear in the morning, I want you to select what you're going to think and feel.
Yes.
So you're going to select your clothes. You do that every day. Go brush your teeth and take 90 seconds before you leave your room, before you go get your coffee. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what do I want to feel today? What would ease feel like in my whole body? What would radical surrender feel like? What would it feel like to remember that everything is in divine order and it's not on my shoulders to figure it all out? I just need to be in alignment today. I need to be present today. I need to be the best, most loving, peaceful version of myself, because that's how I'll make the biggest impact for myself and for the world. And then you go get your coffee.
So
that
good.
One moment will actually be all you need.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, you can add a 5-minute meditation if you want. But most people's meditations, they're not spending their meditation doing things that put them in ease. They're actually giving themselves another reason to beat themselves up.
Right.
Because the mind is always going to think, even when you meditate. The job is to witness that mind.
Yes.
So it requires becoming very compassionate and letting go of shame.
Yeah.
To become aware of what your mind is doing and realize you're not your mind, you're the witness to that. So that's a process to learn self-compassion.
Yeah.
That you can just be a witness. And eventually the mind, it does keep spinning, but you start hearing a different voice, which isn't coming from the mind. It's coming from God. It's coming from within you. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a journey. But
Yes.
I think everybody has 90 seconds every day.
I love that so much, Cathy, because that's my experience. I actually was working with like a guru, doing these working our way up to these 3-hour meditations. Just talk about effort, trying so hard to become a good meditator. Yeah. And I didn't experience the freedom until I kind of stepped away from that in order to put into place a morning practice where, I'm just listing out my gratitude or I'm listening to something guided. It was so hard to leap to meditation that starting smaller was the unlock for me that gave me freedom for so much.
100%. I would totally prescribe it that way, because we also live in a culture where it's not like Deepak Chopra, was born in India. His father at 4 years old told him to find his sit bones and sit down and breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. We're in a constant dopamine hit. We're in notification mode. We're in the phone mode. It's very, very difficult to completely and totally stop. Your nervous system is actually not going to feel safe to stop completely like that. But there's little ways that you can actually expand quite beautifully. And I would say what's really cool, bigger than even gratitude, I've realized, is the process of just having what you have, really having it, savoring it. Because I noticed that so many moments in my day, I have a perfect moment, literally perfect.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we come home from pickup at school. My daughter comes home from volleyball. And my 3 daughters and I were sitting outside, and it was very breezy and windy. And my daughter's shooting hoops, and the sky was gorgeous. And I had the awareness, everything's perfect.
Everything's perfect.
And I want to gift that to people because I realize how often you look back on years of your life and you go, wait, I did have perfect moments.
Yeah.
Meaning the mind will always say what's missing.
Yeah.
Because again, that's all it does. It's in scarcity all the time, the mind.
Yep.
But the heart is always in overflow. And I think it's pretty sad to go through a life that's, whether it's painful or not, life inevitably, I think suffering is optional, but pain is inevitable. I think pain is actually part of the journey.
Yeah.
But with all the pain and stuff, there's still so many moments where you're eating a sandwich, you're sitting with your best friend. And how sad if you rob yourself from the experience of knowing this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is like actually perfect. And I want people to start getting in the habit of being like, how much is really perfect all the time?
Yeah. And just milking those moments, right?
Milking it, because I'll talk to people who come to me for coaching and they're like, yeah, I need help. I want this. I'm like, well, let's start with the audit. How much of your day do you feel whole? How much of your day do you feel blissed out? They're like, bliss? I'm like, do you feel it 25% of your week? They're like, no. I'm like, well, how much of your week do you feel joy and peace? They're like, none. I'm like, okay, that's a big problem. Like, that's coming from a lack of being present and aware of what you have.
Yeah. And I feel like we're all just such victims of, and not that society's like the worst, right? It's not that. It's just like we are victims of this society that's like the go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. Everything that we think we want is outside of ourselves. And it's just, especially with the phone and social media and what we see in the media, it's like, it's so hard to condition yourself away from that. What are your thoughts on, and this kind of gets to like, can we please like talk for 3 more hours? Because I'm like, how is the time going this fast? But this also leads me into how people can work with you, because I think when people find something like what we're talking about, and I know so many people are listening and they're desperate to grab a hold of it, right? And sometimes a podcast and our suggestion of what to do in a morning practice doesn't stick. And so, Tony Robbins always says, take action in the moment of inspiration. Yeah. It's like, do something that commits you to that end goal. So I think it's really big to sign up for the coaching, sessions, join the mastermind, do something like that, that commits you, that you're not just going to fall away from everything that we're talking about. So
100%.
What are your thoughts on that? Are you a believer in, obviously you are a believer in coaching because you coach people, but do you have a coach? And how can people work with you?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's really generous for you to ask me that. But it also is really true for everybody. I mean, when I interviewed James Clear, who wrote this book, Atomic Habits, I said to him, what's the most important habit? And he said, it's such a good question. And he said, when I first wrote the book, I was writing the book and thinking of that question and I didn't have an answer. And he said, but now that the book is out in the world, I know the answer. And the answer is who you choose to spend time with. Because you will become the people you spend time with. So I do think that the people we are around, there's a law of entrainment. If you took metronomes, metronomes keep time for instruments. If you put 40 metronomes on the ground at different paces, eventually, they all sync up to be the same.
Yeah.
If you put 3 girls in an apartment during college, they'll all get their periods at the same time.
Yeah.
We literally become each other. So if you notice that you're choosing to spend time with someone who's always bringing you down, you're going to have to change that.
Yeah.
So that you eventually you'll get really strong in your own resonance. Like the Dalai Lama could kind of be in any environment and he'd hold on to his vibe. But that's because he's really, really, really practicing projecting his own energy. So he doesn't have to protect his energy.
Right.
Because there's nothing to protect. It's like an atom bomb of energy, right?
Yeah.
But when you're on your way to where you really want to be in that super whole, powerful place within, it's very important to have people around you that keep bringing you back into the reality that you want to choose to be in all the time. So, I have a bunch of ways I work with people. Our main way is we have a membership based off of my book, Abundant Ever After. It's called This Abundant Life. And we basically implement the practices of the book. And I do a couple Zoom calls in there and do Q&As, and we send people meditations. And there's like a whole community of people working together to sort of start practicing this.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And then we have like retreats and events and all of that. But if you find me on Instagram at Cathy.Heller, or you go to my website, and then we do like pop-up workshops all the time. Like I'm doing one called The Money Code in a couple weeks. And it's just really fun. Like there's an endless way that I find that I'm constantly teaching and coaching and putting groups together.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to come speak at one of our events as well.
Done. I love that. What you were just saying about just we become, and we all hear it, we become who we surround ourselves with. Robin Sharma always says we become our conversations.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, right? And when you step into something like a membership where you're really surrounded by an entire community of people, you're having a different conversation, and we become our conversations. It's so powerful.
Totally. And the answer to your question is I always have not only a person who's like coaching me, but I always am doing the next big thing. So first of all, Rabbi Aaron is still my rabbi, and we learn together very often for 25 years. I'm always learning with him. And there's other like Kabbalists that I learn from. That's like really deep stuff.
Yeah.
And then I have a mastermind that I'm in with women where we do a reflection circle once a week. And we sort of set down, here's what I'm really chewing on. And we get back feedback and reflection. So yeah, I mean, if you're not yourself at the gym, how are you, training somebody else?
Right.
So yes, constantly.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have you back on the show, because this really, I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface of so many things that I want to talk about. This is such a gift. I just want to encourage everybody to go listen to your podcast to get, is the book brand new? Is it coming out? Did it just come out? Tell me the details.
The book came out, sitting in front of me. The book came out a couple months ago.
Okay, perfect. And I'm Amazoning it to my house today.
Good. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, whatever you like.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, go get the book. I mean, Cathy, you are such a gift in this world, really, just the work that you're doing. I'm so incredibly grateful that somehow, we have no idea how we connected, but there you go. There's the universe for you.
Same radio station.
Yes. So grateful for you. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your knowledge, your presence, all of it.
You are unbelievably loving and kind and so smart. The way that you frame questions, and felt like 3 minutes. You're so good at what you do.
It felt like 3 minutes to me too. So like I said, we're going to have you back. Listeners, make sure you share this episode. Tag Cathy, tag me. We would love to hear your feedback on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you find us. And we will see you next week.